Okay, so why did you move to Albuquerque?
Wait, can we go back and she tell how she met?
Well, I wasn't sure if she moved to Albuquerque before or after she met Grandpa George.
Oh, way out.
Oh, we were married.
Oh, okay, so how did you...
Your mom was 6, 7 when we moved here?
4th grade.
What?
4th grade, because that's when
4th grade, that's where we met.
my
Say
mom
again?
my mom
In
met
the
my
fourth
dad in
grade.
4th grade.
We moved here when I was in the 4th grade.
In the 4th grade,
And that's where
okay.
I met Mark.
Yeah, 4th grade.
Right.
So, well,
Well, tell us how you met Grandpa George.
Grandpa George was in the medical school there. So the medical students practiced at the hospital. And I was introduced to him at the local beer joint where the students went.
Okay.
And by one of my classmates, who was a kick, she's a story in herself, but she introduced me to him, and I went to, I don't remember going to this bar more than 2 or 3 times, because that's just not my bag. And I didn't drink beer, and I didn't drink anything. So, but anyway, we met there. And so that's how I met him.
Go ahead.
And so it's at one point, and I don't remember if it's before I ever went to the bar, but Terry, my roommate, 4 of us were working at that point. We lived together in a carriage house in St. Louis, which I'll explain to you later if you want to know. But anyway, she said, there's somebody that wants to meet you. She was German, Lutheran, and she would go to the bar. And I guess George told her that he wanted to meet me. So I didn't know anything about that. So she, after a night, or out at the bar, she brought him to where we were living, and she brought him up to this bedroom upstairs where I was sleeping, and woke me up and said, "Someone wants to meet you." And George had a beer that he offered me, and I'm sitting there, what in the world is this?
Well, and didn't you have curlers in your hair?
Oh yeah, I had rollers in my hair.
And you said, well, you didn't take your rollers out.
I don't remember, but
I remember you saying, I was not going to take my rollers out.
I have to go to work the next day. But I went downstairs and danced a couple of dances or something. I don't know. Then went to bed. But and then he was, at that point, he was an intern at Children's Hospital, which was right there. And I was working in the clinic, and as part of my clinic, I worked weekends at the pediatric emergency room. And so I worked with him a few times then.
So were you wooed by him when he showed up at your house?
I guess you could call it that.
Did he do anything else to court you beyond yanking you out of bed in the middle of the night?
And offering you a
Not
beer?
much. We didn't have any money. He didn't have any money for sure. That's another story. But about his growing up and his, but he didn't have any money. He had a car, didn't run very well, And I think we may have gone to a movie or two, but you know, we didn't go out to dinner. We didn't. We just didn't have the money or the time or on the same schedule. You know. We
So
were-
how did you guys end up together?
Well, he moved to Mesa, Arizona, to go into practice, and he was in practice there, and we wrote back and forth.
Okay.
We wrote often back and forth. And
And I have those letters.
did I not get
Ooh.
rid of them?
I have them.
I think we didn't let you get rid of them.
I do not want you to get rid of them. They're priceless. They're just, do you remember when we sat at the kitchen table, you and me? And I read you the ones that he wrote to you, and you read the ones that you wrote to him?
I don't remember.
And we put them in date order? Oh. It's
I ought to read those again.
Well, I'll try to find them.
Well, never mind. That's,
And that's how you fell in love with him.
yeah, it was kind of a long distance relationship. I mean, it definitely was. But I went to, well then, I moved to California, near where Juanita and Pat lived. But I worked in a hospital there. That was some hospital that I had, and it was a research hospital, City of Hope in Duarte, California. And I worked there, and I worked evenings, and all I did was work evenings, sleep, go back to work. I never did anything else, but I had a classmate that lived nearby, so she came and picked me up and everything. I guess I had a car then. I think I had a car. But anyway, so I would get a weekend off, and I'd go to Mesa, Arizona and visit, and his secretary kept me at her house.
Oh.
None of the sleepovers like this generation. So, and mostly it was me traveling. You know, he had his practice and he was on call. You know, there were two people, so he was on call a lot. But, so that's how that worked out.
And did he finally have money in Arizona to where he could take you out to dinner or something?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, then.
We went out to dinner and hung out at his apartment, but his secretary made sure I was taken care of. And she was very helpful when we got married, and we got married in Mesa. I didn't go home to get married
Oh, I didn't know that.
because I'd been away a very long time. And he was an only child, and his friends were all in the Tucson area. He went to school at U of A.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yep, he did, for I think maybe 2 years. After he got his degree in the Navy, when he was in the Navy, in that V-12 program at UCLA. He got a degree in I don't even know what. But then he had to take some pre-med courses. And he did not have any money, but at that time, and the government paid veterans to go to school.
Yeah, he
So-
was on the GI Bill.
Yeah,
And,
the GI Bill.
paid for his school.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would never have been able to go.
Okay.
So we never had much money, but you know what? We both had pretty simple tastes, and the one luxury he had was a boat. And we went to, let's see, lake. Oh, I have to think of the lake that we used to
In
go to.
Arizona?
Navajo, maybe?
Havasu? Lake
No.
Havasu?
In
No.
In Arizona?
In Arizona. It was,
Well,
there
there's
are,
Roosevelt Lake. There's
it's down the chain.
Okay, Saguaro Lake?
Saguaro, I think that was it.
Yeah, because there was a military, yeah, they had military, like,
Yeah.
quarters that you could stay there if you were military.
Well, no, we didn't do that. We went on day trips with the boat and went water skiing.
Oh, wow.
So,
well, then tell how after you got married and you went on your honeymoon, who accompanied you on your honeymoon?
The secretary?
well, we ran it. No,
Was she worried
No.
about...
Better than that.
we ran into my mom and dad and a couple that came from Illinois. They're best friends that were
Where was your honeymoon?
Sedona.
Oh, nice.
Well, we went to Sedona and then we went on up to Grand Canyon,
Yeah.
and we stayed there. And then we drove down to Tucson. So we took a kind of a swing of the state. And then when we were down in Tucson, he showed me where his grandma lived and where he was partly raised, mostly raised. And then we went up to, this was before we got married, we went to, I have to think what,
Mount
in
Lemon?
Oak Creek Canyon.
Are you thinking of the Salt River Canyon? You went to the Chrysalis, didn't you go to the Chrysalis mine?
Yes, I'm trying to think. It was Oak Creek Canyon.
Oh, Oak Creek.
Oh, no, not Oak Creek Canyon.
Salt River.
Salt River Canyon. Salt River Canyon. And, but I'm trying to think of the name of where the asbestos mine was.
Oh,
And I can't think of it right now, but his parents lived back there it's about, 10 miles or more off the road on a really primitive road. And they lived in a trailer. And we went up there and visited them a few times before we were married. And that's where I saw my first and only flash flood.
Wow.
well, back to the honeymoon thing. Back in those days, you didn't really make hotel reservations. You went to the front desk and asked if they had any rooms. And then typically, if they said yes, then the woman in the couple would go check out the room and see if it seemed clean enough and stuff like that. So they were with her parents, and this other couple, the woman in this other couple was a stitch. I mean, we loved her. She was just a stitch. Her name was Frankie. And so when they went to the hotel, the front desk, do you want to tell?
Well, go ahead.
So they said, we're on our honeymoon. And Grandma Celeste said, yeah, and I'm the mother of the bride.
Oh.
And Frankie said, and I'm the mother of the groom. And I heard this story from Grandma Celeste, and she said the lady at the front desk just said, well, I never.
Yeah, well, glad you reminded me of that. Yeah.
I was just curious if you ever went to Bisbee with Grandpa.
Oh, yeah. Bisbee was where he was partly raised, and his grandma, Grandma Ida lived there, and So I met Grandma Ida, and oh, she was a peach. And there's stories about that too, but that I don't know what I was. And Hazel, that was George's mother's name, Hazel. Hazel had 2 sisters down there and some nephews, so I met that part of the family down there. And so we went down there and we visited Bisbee a time or two. But
Grandma Hazel had 2 sisters, one named Abby
right.
and one named Sister. They called her Sister. Do you remember what her name
No,
was? Do you, Leslie? We should.
I don't remember.
I don't think I ever heard her real name.
Have you ever been to Bisbee?
Yep, a couple times. We scattered Grandpa George's ashes there. I went with my mom and Aunt Leslie and Aunt Martha one time.
Spring break.
Spring break.
You had your parents on your honeymoon, and Adele invited all of us to spend spring break with her in Bisbee.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So later, why did you move to Albuquerque?
Well, after George and I got married, a friend of his who was a pediatric resident invited George, well, offered him a job in Evansville, Indiana, with Mead Johnson Pharmaceuticals. Well, actually, at that time, they were more infant feeding. Canned infant food. And so George went to work for him, and we were there for We were there for 7 years, I think. And then George was offered a job. He went to work in Memphis for 2 years at a university there. Actually, it was Memphis College, I think, at the time. But, no, I don't know. But then he got unhappy there and decided he wanted to come back west. So we determined, he looked at jobs in Tucson and here, and decided on here. So we've lived here ever since.
Wow, cool. So what was the biggest change you witnessed in the world while you've been alive, since you've been alive?
You know, that's almost impossible to answer that. You've heard about the change in, from no TV to, and we didn't have a TV until we were living in Evansville, in Indiana. And the kids, you were, young.
Well, all three of us were born
And-
We were all
there.
born there.
We were all born
Yeah, all three of the girls were born there.
Okay.
So, so we were probably the last people that got a TV, and they were not happy to go because they would see it at other people's house, and finally, it was me that relented, I think, more, or considered it because I wanted to watch a national convention. And so I consider myself a late bloomer in that things happened to me, changes happened later in my life than other people might have had, expectation of getting my degree. It happened later, and getting different things, getting the girls a car, which their dad did, George did. Well, I was off on a trip around the state without talking to me about it. That did not make me happy.
And the horse too, right?
And got him a horse, yes. And that was kind of a love-hate relationship that I had with that situation, because I had to drive him out to where the horse was boarded, which was out in Tejares Canyon. But
And you guys got a
overall,
dog.
it was a good thing. But anyway, so, getting my master's degree, I was in my 50s.
Yeah, because you're busy driving your your kids to their horse all the time.
Well, yeah. But having that horse was fun because the girls, especially you, loved to ride. And she was in a 4-H,
4-H.
what did they call it? That it was county rodeo, I guess. And with the horse. But see, so my memories of this was the logistics of getting that horse from there to the fairgrounds. And the people where we boarded it did it for us. But to me, it was a big effort to a stress on my life. So I will say the horse ownership was stressful. But, good things come out of that. I love watching her barrel racing.
Well, I did.
Not exactly.
Goat
tying. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Well, that's when you interview me. This is her interview.
But so that was fun. So, that also contributes to my philosophy that when things happen that are not exactly happy at the time, there are good things that come out of it. Mm-hmm. So you go through whatever mental or physical suffering you go through, but on the other side, there's sunshine. So I try not to look back at these things and to move forward, especially now in the life, at this stage of life.